Well, Israel's Prime Minister has responded to the drone attack on his home, calling it a grave and bitter mistake. The drone had targeted Netanyahu's residence in the city of Caesarea, north of Tel Aviv. Neither he nor his wife were there at the time, and nobody was hurt. But Netanyahu says that nothing will deter him or his government from pressing on with its military offensives in both Gaza as well as Lebanon. Now, Mohammed Jamjoom, who's our correspondent in Jordan's capital, Amman, he's there because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting not just in Israel but also in the occupied territories. And he has the latest for us on that drone attack, but also the implications it might have.
Hours after that drone attack that targeted the residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the northern Israeli city of Caesarea, Netanyahu issued a statement in which he said, "The attempt by Iran's proxy Hezbollah to assassinate me and my wife today was a grave mistake." The statement also went on to say, "I say to Iran and its proxies in its axis of evil, anyone who tries to harm Israel's citizens will pay a heavy price." Now, shortly after that statement was issued, there were also diplomatic sources, unnamed diplomatic sources close to Netanyahu that were quoted in Israeli media outlets, also blaming Iran for what they called the assassination attempt against Netanyahu and saying that there would be retaliation for that attack. All of this coming at a time of heightened tension when the region is on tenterhooks waiting for this promised Israeli response to the Iranian missile attack against Israel on October 1st. Israel has vowed to strike back and strike back hard. Now, with other officials indicating that there will be further retaliation, possibly against Iran, many are wondering if this means if Israel would widen the scope of its attack, when it might happen. Lots of questions at a time when the region is already facing so much tension, and at a time when that tension only seems to be growing. Mohammed, Jamjoom, Al Jazeera, Amman.
So we heard from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and now we've also heard from Iran that has responded and denies any involvement in that drone attack on Netanyahu's residence, saying that it was actually Hezbollah that was responsible. Now, US Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has told a rally in Pennsylvania that he spoke to Netanyahu on the phone after that attack. Well, Phil Lavelle reports from Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump's claim that he spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu earlier on Saturday allows him to do two things. Number one, it enables him to effectively position himself as a leader in waiting publicly who can speak to these world leaders. And two, it enables him the opportunity to effectively embarrass Joe Biden. Remember, this is a relationship between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Israel. This is supposed to be an airtight relationship. And yet we have seen over recent weeks, recent months, that there is this big gap between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Joe Biden. Now, Donald Trump says Netanyahu actually called him, and he said, "Bibi called me today and he said it is incredible what happened because he wouldn't listen to Biden, because if he did, they wouldn't be in this position." You remember that Prime Minister Netanyahu visited Donald Trump in person at his resort Mar-a-Lago in Florida when he was in the US back in July. He took his wife with him. As for Kamala Harris, she made some comments on Saturday at a rally in Detroit. She said after that rally in an interview, the first most tragic story is October 7th. That will obviously please those who are supporters of Israel in this country, but it's likely to alienate her against those Arab American voters whose votes she really needs, particularly in Michigan, where those comments were made. That is a state with a large Arab American population. Donald Trump will still get the votes that he would have got there, but Kamala Harris is learning that many Arab American voters are now saying that they will not vote for her. They won't vote for him, but they will not vote for her out of principle, which could be a big problem for her in a state where it could come down to just a few thousand votes. Phil Lavelle, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.